Have you ever walked into a room and felt the atmosphere tighten? Not from pride, not from noise, but because your presence started to brighten a corner too dim for truth? If so, welcome. You're not strange, you're sacred. You're not dramatic, you're divine. You are one of the chosen, and your journey, though quiet, has never been a mistake in God's design. This is the Drunken Philosopher, where sacred identity meets spiritual clarity, where the whispers of heaven find voice in the chaos of the world's noise. If you feel seen already, pause right here. Tap that like button so this message finds others on the same road. And if your soul is leaning in, hit subscribe, because this channel is a sanctuary for those who carry fire in silence. Let's begin. You were never made for crowds that celebrated noise. You were born for thresholds, for edges, for the spaces where truth trembles before it becomes bold. Even as a child, you noticed more than you should. You cried at the weight others couldn't feel. You sensed when things were off, even when no one spoke a word. You weren't paranoid, you were prophetic. God marked your soul before the world gave you a name. You walked alone, not because you were rejected, but because your spirit couldn't shrink to fit in cages made for survival when you were made for revival. See, a chosen one isn't chosen for applause. They're chosen for alignment, and that alignment costs everything that once felt familiar. Friends fade, rooms shift, even family starts to feel like foreign land. But hear this, your loneliness was never punishment. It was preparation. Because when God has placed something inside you, He will remove anything around you that cannot carry it, protect it, or respect it. So those seasons you thought were abandonment were actually angelic quarantines. God's mercy disguising itself as separation to keep your oil from being spilled too soon. You see, not everyone is designed to walk beside you when the anointing starts to pour. Some can't handle the fragrance, some will try to bottle it, others will spill it and call it your fault. But heaven knows what it's doing. Chosen ones are never given comfort before calling. They are forged in fires of misplacement, so they can discern the weight of where they do belong. That's why you've always felt too much, too sensitive, too intense, too quiet, too knowing. But what the world called too much, God calls just enough to shift atmospheres. You weren't built to blend in. You were sent to remind the room what truth feels like. And that reminder, even in silence, will often provoke discomfort in others who have grown used to pretending. That's why they stared. That's why they shifted in their seats. That's why your presence felt like pressure to those who were hiding from themselves. It's not your job to fix it. It's your job to be it, to walk in the light even if no one claps, to speak in truth even if no one stays, to stand with heaven even if the earth shakes under your feet. Because your difference is not a disorder, it's your distinction, it's your design. And what makes you feel like an outcast in one room will make you feel like royalty in the next. Chosen one, you were not born to walk the wide path lined with approval. You were born for the narrow one lined with purpose. That's why nothing has ever satisfied you for long. That's why the things they chase feel hollow to your hands. That's why you cry when others laugh. Because your soul hears something deeper than the surface, and it cannot be silenced anymore. So let the world misunderstand you. Let them mislabel, misquote, and misread. Let them call you arrogant when you finally protect your energy. Let them call you distant when you stop watering deserts. You're not hard to love. You've just been loving in places that were never your assignment. You're not invisible. You've been hidden by heaven until the time was right. And now, the time is shifting. You're not waiting for the call. You are the call. And the world will hear it, even if they don't yet understand the language. Stay rooted. Stay sacred. Because what comes next isn't about fitting in. It's about standing up. Welcome to the beginning. Now we flow forward. You're not flawless. You're obedient. You're not prideful. You're postured. You've surrendered, and that surrender releases a fragrance the spirit realm cannot ignore. Even strangers feel it. Even acquaintances catch it. Even enemies sense it. And that's why some push back without provocation, because they can feel that you are not of this world. You operate from a frequency that doesn't bend to trends. You speak words that carry weight beyond your years. You walk with a rhythm that echoes obedience. And when people sense that, but don't understand it, they either draw near to learn or recoil in fear. This is why you must not dim your light, not to comfort them, not to be accepted, not to fit into their small definitions of who you should be. Your light was never meant to be swallowed by rooms that fear the sun. It was meant to illuminate the ones who are ready to awaken. And yes, sometimes that means enduring the awkward silence, enduring the strange energy, enduring the passive aggression that spills from those who feel exposed in your glow. But take heart, chosen one. They are not rejecting you. They are resisting the call within themselves. That your life is echoing. Some are not ready to confront their own mirrors. Others will see you, be inspired by you, and still walk away because they are not yet ready to rise into the light they glimpse in your eyes. Don't take it personal. Take it prophetic. Because what you carry was never meant for casual consumption. It was meant to transform, not just be admired. So the stares will continue, the glances will persist, and you'll keep feeling that strange vibration in rooms that are sensing something more than what you show. Let it be. Your energy is your introduction. Before you ever speak a word, your spirit testifies, even when your mouth is silent. And when the right ones come, they will not just stare. They will stand beside you, with you, in full recognition of what you carry, because they've been carrying it too. You won't have to explain. You won't have to shrink. You won't have to feel like a mystery or a threat. You'll just be seen, in spirit, in truth, in full. But until then, let them stare. Let them question. Let them retreat. You don't need their understanding to keep walking in the light. You only need heaven's yes, and you've already got it. Not all enemies announce themselves. Some smile in your direction, clap when you win, ask you how you're doing, while secretly hoping you'll fail just enough to make them feel better. Chosen one, you must learn this early. Envy doesn't always snarl. Sometimes it smiles, and it's not always loud. Sometimes it's subtle, passive, polite, and if you're not careful, you'll mistake their proximity for loyalty, their words for wisdom, their compliments for commitment. But what you're really looking at is a heart wrestling with comparison. Every time you breathe in your calling, you didn't ask for this. You never said, "Look at me." In fact, you've tried to hide it. Your glow, your wisdom, your favor. You just wanted peace. To love and be loved, to grow quietly. But favor isn't quiet. Anointing doesn't whisper. And when you are chosen, even your silence speaks louder than their ego can handle. That's why some friends begin to shift. They start distancing without reason, withholding support, mocking your ambitions, minimizing your milestones. At first you wonder, did I do something wrong? But beloved, you didn't change, you grew. And growth triggers those who've decided to stay stagnant. They see your spiritual evolution as a threat to the comfort of who they've always been. Not because you're trying to rise above them, but because your elevation reminds them of their hesitation. And rather than grow with you, they'll quietly resent you. Envy is a sneaky spirit. It dresses itself in support, but leaks in sarcasm. It calls your purpose too much, but secretly studies your every move. It questions your light, while secretly longing to possess its glow. And this is why discernment must become your closest companion. Because when envy wears a friendly face, it won't always be easy to spot. They'll still text you, still call you bro or sis, still comment, "So proud of you," on your posts, while privately picking apart every victory as if it were stolen. Chosen one, you are not paranoid. You are discerning. You are not dramatic. You are prophetic. Your spirit knows when someone's smile is forged and their cheer is hollow, and God will begin to show you, not to shame them, but to protect you, because what you carry is sacred, and sacred things can't be handed to those whose hearts are too poisoned to steward them. That's why some connections had to fall apart. That's why you felt a sting in certain conversations. That's why your soul kept whispering, "They're not who they pretend to be." Don't fight it. Don't beg to be understood. Don't try to fix what envy broke. Some friendships were only meant to be seasonal, and the season is over. And hear this with clarity. You are not responsible for someone else's wounds being triggered by your healing. You are not arrogant because you refuse to play small. You are not fake because you protect your peace. You are not cold because you stop explaining your purpose to people who only want access, not alignment. When God elevates you, He doesn't just bless you. He reveals them. Those you thought would celebrate you start to compete. Those you trusted with secrets start to leak them. Those you leaned on start to lean away. And the worst part? It often comes from the people you would have taken to the mountaintop with you. You would have shared the crown. You would have carried their battles. But envy doesn't see your heart. It only sees your harvest. So, what do? You bless them anyway. Yes, bless them, but from a distance. You keep your spirit clean, but your boundaries firm. You forgive them, but you don't fold for them. Because what God is building in you requires space free of sabotage, free of spiritual leeches who drain you while pretending to support you. Remember Joseph, betrayed by brothers, sold into slavery, not by strangers, but by those who shared his bloodline. Why? Because his dream was too big for their undeveloped hearts to handle. And yet, even in betrayal, Joseph's destiny didn't die. It deepened. It matured. It rose. So will yours. Do not grieve who could not handle your light. You didn't lose a friend. You shed a disguise. Let them go. Let God vindicate. And keep walking in love. Not naive love, but discerning love, guarded love, wise love. Because as you rise, new voices will come, people who don't flinch at your fire, people who clap with sincerity, who serve without jealousy, who celebrate without insecurity. These are your tribe, your covenant connections, and they are being sent. But they cannot find you if you're still stuck defending your light to those who only want to dim it. Envy may wear a friendly face, but you wear a holy crown. Walk accordingly. Imitation, the silent echo that follows you into rooms you never invited it to. It mimics your cadence, borrows your light, repackages your essence, and calls it inspiration. But make no mistake, chosen one, there's a reason they mirror you. You carry something original, something divine, so distinct that even your silence becomes a template. You never asked to be followed. You only walked in truth. But your truth, that unshakable, radiant, spirit-led truth, stirred something dormant in others. And now you find pieces of yourself in places your feet never walked. They wear your tone, echo your thoughts, take your phrases and post them as if heaven whispered to them first, and it might sting. This reflection of you in unfamiliar mouths, this replication of your journey by people who never knew the valley it took to arrive at your mountaintop. But hear me clearly. Do not be offended. Be honored, because heaven has always raised the originals to awaken the imitators. They watched your obedience in seasons that stripped you bare. They observed how you chose faith when fear would have made more sense. They noted your consistency when applause was absent. And now, they try to embody your resilience without embracing your refining. But there is something they cannot duplicate: the weight of your calling. They can copy your surface, but not your source. They can study your fruit, but not your root. Because what you carry was not learned. It was lived. They didn't see the cost. The late nights, the private prayers, the holy wrestling, the shedding of identities that no longer fit the vessel God was molding. They weren't in the fire, so they cannot carry the flame. And still, do not grow bitter, because even your imitation is being used to spark transformation. God is so generous that even borrowed light can illuminate dark places. But let this be clear: your light was not given to be diluted. You are not here to compete. You are here to reveal. This is why, chosen one, you must stay grounded. Authenticity must remain your altar, because as the imitators multiply, so does the temptation to conform, to shift your tone, to match their mimicry, to water down your essence in an effort to stand out again. But no, you were never meant to stand out. You were meant to stand apart. There's a difference. Standing out craves attention. Standing apart demands respect. One shouts, the other commands silence. You, beloved, are the blueprint. Not because you said so, but because your obedience wrote it in the quiet hours no one saw. So, when they imitate, let them. Smile, bless them, but don't slow down to explain. You have realms to build, nations to touch, spiritual assignments that will not be fulfilled through cloned vibrations. And as you move forward, imitation will intensify, but do not panic. Do not rush to protect your legacy with fear. God is the author of your originality, and He is fiercely protective of what He's written into your DNA. Remember David? Before he was crowned, he was imitated. Saul gave him armor, something shiny, official, proven. But David said, "This doesn't fit me." Because when you're truly chosen, even well-meaning imitation feels like suffocation. So strip off the borrowed armor, walk in what fits, swing your own stone, use your own sling, speak in your voice, move in your rhythm, trust the anointing that drips from your scars and sacred silence. And here's what you must know. The real ones will recognize you not by your volume, but by your vibration. They won't just say, "You inspire me." They'll say, "You reminded me of me." Not because they copied you, but because your authenticity gave them permission to return to themselves. This is your true influence, not being duplicated, but being disruptive enough to pull others back into alignment with their own divine design. So walk boldly, not in fear of being copied, but in reverence of being called. And let your originality remain uncompromised, unbothered, unmoved, because no matter how closely they mirror you, they cannot carry what you carry. They weren't built for it, but you were, and you still are. There comes a moment, not loud, not televised, where the soul exhales, and in that stillness, everything changes. No trumpet sounds, no crowd erupts, but deep within, the storm has stilled. The chaos that once ruled your mind now kneels before the calm you carry. Chosen one, your peace is not passive. It is warfare won. It is the echo of battles fought in silence. Of nights you wrestled with shadows, and mornings you rose anyway. This kind of peace is not borrowed. It's not borrowed from people, not contingent on circumstances. It's birthed in fire, refined in surrender, and sealed in sacred trust. You used to search for signs, asking, "Have I healed yet? Have I arrived?" And now, without realizing, you're walking in the evidence, because nothing speaks louder than being unshaken in the places that once shattered you. You pass by old triggers and they do not grip you. You hear their name and your spirit does not tremble. You revisit old wounds and find them closed, not because you ignored them, but because you gave them to God. This peace you carry is not the absence of warfare. It is the presence of the warrior who never left your side. You don't have to shout anymore to prove your worth. You don't have to explain your fire to those who are cold. You don't have to shrink so others feel tall, because you've found your anchor, not in applause, not in titles, but in truth. And this truth, it lives in your bones now. It moves through your breath, flows through your posture. You walk differently, not because you're pretending, but because you've been transformed. Let them question your glow. Let them wonder how, because the how is hidden in the holy. What was done in secret now speaks in your stillness. The world rushes, but you rest. The world panics, but you pause. Because the same God who parted seas now parts your anxiety with whispered assurance. Be still, he says, and know. This is not complacency. This is confidence. Confidence that what is for you will not pass you. Confidence that every delay was divine. Confidence that peace is a weapon more powerful than worry. And when the voices return, the doubt, the fear, the old whispers, you will not flinch, because your ears are tuned to a higher frequency now, and his voice always brings peace. Let this be your proof that you don't beg anymore. You don't chase. You don't cling, because you've remembered who you are. You were never just surviving. You were being sculpted, and now you are the sculpture, still marked by the master's hand. Your peace is your crown. Wear it boldly. It is the quiet roar that silences every storm. And if they ask you, "How did you know you had won?" you won't have to speak. Your stillness will speak for you. Thank you for walking this journey with me. If this word anchored your spirit like the video, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who needs to hear heaven's whisper again. And always remember, you don't need loud to be light. Your peace is your proof.